Hello and welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. This is Addis Dialogue from Ethiopian Broadcasting Corporation with me, Gzachew Derib. Africa is endowed with different natural resources. How this natural resource be used for its citizens is the issue to be entertained. In today's program, we will examine how Africa, though endowed with natural resources, exploiting and using its resources is quite another issue. Assistant Professor Mohammed Habib from Addis Ababa University School of Law, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
You have rich experience about Africa, both in terms of law and in history as well, including economics. How do you see Africa's natural resources where other parts of the world, to some extent, run or under stress of natural resources?
African resources are well known, not only by Africans, by the rest of the world as well. Although Africans did not have the opportunity to utilize their natural resources in some way, that everybody knows that Africa is rich in terms of potentiality, in terms of also that recognizing that opportunity for richer experience. With that, one can say that from the perspective of Africans and non-Africans as well, Africa is naturally well known as a rich and naturally endowed continent. Meanwhile, that Africans in some parts, almost in all parts of Africa, was not opportune to explore that opportunity because of, first of all, lack of stability, democratic governance. Because without democratic governance, it may not be possible to utilize the resource. What could be the amount of that resource? However, it will remain that it's not utilized, and not only utilized, it is also misused for wrong purposes. Therefore, one may conclude that for a rich continent like Africa, the best opportunity, the best chance for better utilization of that resource could be first ensuring stability throughout the continent. That requires, of course, continental effort, cooperation among Africans themselves to make sure that they get the right solution for ensuring stability. Stability also requires democratic governance. Nobody have said that Africa is poor. What is well known throughout the world is that even after the colonial experience, after decolonization, that African countries, no matter how rich they may be, they have not been in the position to ensure democratic governance, as a result of which, therefore, that the opportunity for utilizing that resource in the best interest of Africa has become very limited. And unfortunately, for most of the post-colonial experience, Africans have been very busy in trying to ensure stability, deal with conflicts, establish democratic governance. They have not succeeded in that respect. Therefore, the reason for Africa's failure to utilize its natural resources and is exploiting and also ensuring that Africa could cope up with the rest of the world, given its experience, that opportunity has not been utilized. The reason is that there has not been peace. Peace also because of good governance, consequential processes, lack of peace, lack of democracy, lack of good governance, and then lack of development. they become one has become a reason for for the other. Therefore, it means the problem for Africa is in Africans' own hands. Nobody could explore the wisdom for Africans to stand by themselves and to be able to utilize their natural resources. Everybody knows, including beginning from the colonial times, that Africa has been rich. There was never, it has not been possible. The rest of the world couldn't have, for example, Europeans, beginning from the Berlin Conference, that couldn't have imagined possibility of dominating or utilizing Africa for some reason, for their own reason, had not been that there was a knowledge that Africa has been naturally endowed. There is no question that Africa has been endowed, but the reason is who is responsible for African impoverishment. One cannot say that African problems emanate from external sources or because of colonial exploitation, etc. Yes, colonial experience, colonial domination has been true. It was zeroth domination. Colonialism and neo-colonialism are facts of life. But the issue is it that because of others' wisdom to be able to dominate Africa, that Africans have been unable to utilize their resources for their own benefits? That has not been the question. Therefore, Africans should first of all explore the wisdom for their progress and that lifelong problem, Africa's impoverishment, Africa's exploitation, etc. The solution should come from Africans themselves.
There is an element of truth in your expression that one is the cause for the other. Indeed, Africa is rich in terms of natural resources, but the question lies, Africa may not be rich in terms of peace, Africa may not be rich in terms of democracy, Africa may not be rich in terms of good governance, what we have said in terms of law. Some African countries, especially from West Africa, few countries are in a trap of coups that we are witnessing today in 21st century. Is that because of internal failure and political dynamism or because of external interference?
One can say that I may not need to find out a solution from the perspective of conspiracy theory.
Okay.
I may not say, I'm not sure whether or not foreign external forces are exploiting Africans. The issue is Africans are there with their problem. Lack of good governance has been there with us. Lack of democracy has been there with us. Lack of stability and peace has been always with Africa. Who is responsible? I may not know. I may not be able to explore the reason, who is responsible for Africa. I would say, but still, Africa is with a problem. Africa is with a problem. Africa could have been rich, could have not only rich, could have been stable as well. Talk less of providing economic stability to the extent that African natural resources might suggest. If that could not be the immediate possibility, the immediate possibility could have been at least solving our problems in terms of peace and security, in terms of lack of good governance, in terms of undermining democracy, etc. This would have been in our own hands, because we couldn't provide such remedies which are within all our hands. The consequence is very clear that African poverty, impoverishment, even worse than the colonial times, a victim of neo-colonial mentality, neo-colonial impoverishment. These are all possibilities which are always there. But I would say that foreign powers cannot take responsibility. We cannot even we cannot express deadly understand the daily fact that Africans are in problem because of other problem. One, I cannot rule out that it's possible, but external problems were always there and have always been here. But what is a solution which Africans could have done? You could have done, for example, the resources are with us. The resources are with us. The challenge for good governance are with us. The challenge for stability are with us. Therefore, if we cannot provide solution for such problems, it's given that problems which we may assume are products of external source might always be possible. Therefore, I would say that the immediate African challenge is that Africans should resolve their own problems by their own hands.
How do you see the impact of lack of stability, peace, and development for Africa's voice to be heard globally, or Africa to make an influence to which the position it deserves?
In order for Africans to be listened and respected, Africans should have a solution first of all. When we Africans gather and we propose solutions, and we can tell the rest of the world that this should not be our destiny. Look, that the colonial times are gone. Other problems might have come, but still Africa must survive. Africans should live like all other people in such a dilemma that the rest of the world may assist Africans who may think good about themselves, who may not be pessimistic about their future. This is there is one Afro-pessimism. Africans cannot think except about their problem. No. We have passed more serious problems than this. Therefore, the way we think about our future should be full of optimism, and our optimism should be supported by others hoping to support Africans in a way that Africans, at the end of the day, should be masters of their future.
How do you see the motto of African solutions for African problems, where many parts of Africa, West Africa, Central Africa, or East Africa, you can take Sudan, you can take Somalia, you can take DRC, or you can take the Sahel region, where conflict is much more prevalent than where is that motto in practical terms?
The African problem for African solution, even the very sovereign African states, to be a solution for their own countries. Today, we're in more serious problems than ever before. Sudan was not as divided as it is today. You can think about the richer countries like the DRC. All these are not. So I wouldn't like even to mention more. But in a way that would say, yes, African problems, African solutions. This is a fact. This is a truth which cannot run away. Nobody. We cannot blame anybody else for African problems. African solutions, if there is any solution for African problem, this is true in terms of truth. But the problems are always there. One may think from looking for solution by focusing on African problems as a collective community of Africans, as African youth, African peasants, African civil society organizations, far away from political actors. Because we, especially the civil society organizations, we don't think about risk of whatever we decide.
What sort of recommendations do you have for African leaders who are in office today, and for African Union commissions who are going to assume office?
For African Union leadership, the commission may not be blamed for committing any problem, but not doing anything in itself is a big problem. In that respect, African leadership at the level of the African Union, at the regional economic communities, should think about what is it that we do. From every time that you are a leader and then others may come, And if you count, the cycle is there. So it's very clear that it means there has not been a legacy of progress, a legacy of good initiatives during our times. That should be taken into account at the level of leadership, at the level of leadership of individual countries. One would say that let anybody begin by doing whatever he can do, okay, whatever he can do, and should not also fear the participation of the people of their own countries towards the good direction. That the more the people that participate, the more even leaders may have confidence in whatever they do. By allowing people to participate, by allowing people to air their not only grievances, to discuss, to deliberate, and to find a solution. It could be possible that the solution may be closer to the, we may be closer to the solution. Otherwise, if we continue like this, and economic problems are coming from anywhere, and Africans are always thinking of our poverty, and especially now, migration of many Africans have become a problem for upper north, the industrialized countries. Running away from Africa, and it's not a solution, and also should be also a big problem for the developed world, for people to dislike Africans, to consider Africans as part of the problems. A long time ago, there was no such kind of attitude towards Africans. Now, yeah. Now the rest of the world started not only finding a solution for Africa, but still even disliking, considering Africans as problems. It means we have become a problem. That may not be true, but that the rest of the world look as if consider us as people without solution. Yes, and all these talks that African problems, African solution are slogans. It's good, but when is it going to be true?
When it will be implemented?
Well, it's not true. It means now we have at the age where the attitude of the developed world is changing in a way that may not be good for Africans. Okay. This is the rest of the world is telling us indirectly that your problems is in Africa, your solution is in Africa. By running away from Africa, you cannot also try to find a solution in Europe. No, that Europe is for Europeans. It's not agreed, but it has become truth.
So Africa for Africans.
Africa for Africans, in order to be true, should start from Africa.
The more divided Africa, the more it becomes weaker and weaker, and also the better it creates an opportunity for its adversaries, according to your analysis. Assistant Professor Mohammed Habib from Addis Ababa University School of Law. Thank you very much for your critical analysis and insight as well. Much appreciated, really.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dear viewers and listeners, by this we come to the end of our show. Africa can't afford in the 21st century where impoverishment and economically backwardness cannot be tolerated no more. The younger generation and scholars from different parts of Africa can be the best solution for Africa, besides the palace politicians who dare to maintain their political and the regime status quo. Africa needs a visionary, dynamic, and who will envision Africa's progress and development. Thank you very much. You can follow us on different social media platforms of Ethiopian Broadcasting Corporation until we meet with another edition of our program. Goodbye for now. Thank you very much for being with us.